大家早安，大家好，欢迎莅临。
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the new Net Zero City Low Carbon Sustainable New Economy Forum. Good morning. I'm the moderator of today. As the world is pursuing net zero and carbon emission reduction, what kind of role can Taiwan play? And what are the benchmark industries or enterprises achieve their net zero goals? That's what we are going to discuss today. The reason why enterprises are able to receive orders from abroad, ESG is a very important benchmark. And this is actually a carbon neutral forum. We have actually purchased carbon rights for this forum, actually from Chile. We hope that through this action, we'll be able to really demonstrate our commitment to sustainability and environmental protection. And also, please be reminded that we have a lucky draw at the end of the session, so please stay till the end of the forum. Firstly, we'd like to say hello to all of the VIPs for today's meeting. Our Vice Chairman from National Development Council, Deputy Minister Gao, Secretary General Lin Zhiqing from TSSA, CBC Chairman Mr. Li Shunqing, CSC President Wang Xiqin, Chief Strategy Officer Kevin Liao from Chinese Holding, and Service Leader Zhou Chen from Deloitte, Taiwan. I believe we will have a wonderful session today. Firstly, we'd like to invite Deputy Minister Gao from National Development Council to say a few words for us. Mr. Deng, Mr. Lin, distinguished guests, Chairman Li, President Wang, Chief Strategy Officer Liao, and Sustainability Service Leader Chen. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. National Development Council is honored to be the organizer for this event and would also like to extend our gratitude to the co-host of this forum. This is the third year for us to hold this forum, and for this time, we have invited the leading companies in different industries, including CPC, CSC, Chinese Holdings, and Deloitte Taiwan to share with us their best practice in net zero and low carbon emission reduction. As we know, there are more than 150 countries that made the commitment to achieve the net zero goal by 2050. However, for all the industries, it is something that we need to implement with a sense of urgency. CBAM has been implemented since last year and will start to implement by 2026. And as we see, we are now entering a new era, and all these upstream industries, including Google and Amazon, they have joined RE100 to commit to reach the goal of carbon neutral by 2030. And there's also ISSB, which has already announced IFRS S1 and S2. In the future, we will have an unanimous ESG disclosure standard, and the FSC has also committed to meet the international standard. So if you do not engage in carbon reduction, you will not be able to receive the financing or orders from abroad. However, challenges also represents new opportunities, as many countries have seen net zero emission as the opportunity for transformation. And for Japan, they have enacted a green growth strategy. And from our IEA's report, we can also see that by last year, the investment to net zero has reached 1.6 trillion dollars, and the number could go up to 4.5 trillion by 2030. And we also have other investments along with this goal. So in other words, net zero is not actually a challenge, but an opportunity for us to achieve green transformation. As we know, in March 2022, we have proposed the roadmap to achieve net zero. And last year, we have proposed 12 key strategies and have already started to implement these strategies. And this year, the budget is about 96.4 billion, and the budget will further increase in the coming years. As the investment from the government, we still need the support and cooperation from the industry. So we start by encouraging the state-owned enterprises to engage in this net zero technology investment, or to implement pilot programs for net zero solutions. And today, CBC and CSC will share with us their best practices and many case studies. Secondly, we also hope that the industry leaders can lead by example. Actually, we have an N+1 subsidy, and we expect the industry leaders can lead the SMEs to engage fully in the efforts of carbon reduction. And for the government, we focus on two key issues. Number one, the acquisition of green energy. As we all know, in the future, in the coming years, the government will focus on the development of and supply of green energy. In the meantime, we will also improve the resilience of the power grid. The government is prepared to invest in 600 billion NT dollars in the infrastructure. And that is something that the government should do. We have also expand the credit guarantee mechanism so that the contract to acquire green energy can have better guarantee for financing. And we have also established a carbon right transaction platform to facilitate the work. Secondly, for these events, we focus both on net zero and smart city. In the future, in order to promote net zero goals, we need to engage in new technologies. So our focus is to leverage the new technology, including generative AI and 5G, to include them in the solutions of net zero city and smart city. We hope that through the investment of these technologies, we'll be able to come up with more innovative solutions to help us achieve the goal of net zero city and low carbon sustainability. And I believe these two focuses will be the key issues and priorities for the government. Last but not least, I would like to again extend my gratitude and appreciation to the organizers and the participants. This is a goal that requires the efforts of everyone, from the government, the industry, and the academia. We hope that in the process of green transformation, we hope that we'll be able to further promote the transformation of Taiwan's economy. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now we will proceed with the group photo.
秘书长
Let's welcome Secretary General Lin and CPC Chairman Li, CSC Chairman Wang, Kevin Liao from Chinese, Joe Chen from Deloitte Taiwan to take a group photo. Please look at the camera in front of you. Please look at the camera on your left. Please look at the camera on your right. And we mentioned that we purchased 4 tons of carbon credit for this event so that we can meet carbon neutrality in this event. Please showcase the certificate on the stage. So we will have Deputy Minister Gao and representative from US TV to showcase the certificate. Please look at the camera in the center. Please look at the camera on your left. Please look at the camera on your right. Thank you very much. Please be seated. And then we'll move on toward our presentation. You're at the right place to know more about the current trend. First of all, let's welcome Chairman of CPC, Mr. Li Shunqing, to talk about CPC strategy.
掌声欢迎。
Please give a big hand to Chairman Li. Deputy Minister Gao, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great honor to be invited by US TV for the 3rd year to share some of our best practices here. COP28 just concluded at the end of last year, and there's a very important agreement at COP28, which is difficult to achieve because Java, the chairman, actually represents the oil-producing countries, and the environmentalists actually was against the idea of having Java as the chairperson. So after a round of power or political struggling, they come up with an agreement called transition away from fossil fuel. And the news headline has been focusing on these agreement of transition away from fossil fuel. I remember the chairman of COP26 was Arrow Sherman, and he said that at least this is the beginning of the end of fossil fuel year. So I think this agreement actually carry these very important meaning, the beginning of the end of the fossil fuel era. So for CPC, well, this is a very critical statement. Actually, oil companies will now wait until the agreement to start the transformation. CPC has been under the guidance of the Executive Yuan. We have already started the initiatives for green transformation. And as I mentioned, around Shelman, the chairman of COP26, he said that this is the beginning of the end of the fossil fuel era. Actually, in the process, he also mentioned that we cannot afford to fail future generation. We cannot afford to fail the future generation, to disappoint them. We cannot afford to disappoint them. So 2050 net zero carbon emission is the responsibility of our generation. This is a very interesting graph. We ranked 378 in the Fortune 500 ranking last year. Oil companies are like giants, and the giant is now planting the wind turbines, the offshore wind turbines. So in the past few years, the reason why we can enjoy the growth of offshore wind turbine is because of the vision of the government. In the beginning, nobody actually agree or believe that the idea is a correct direction. However, as we can see it right now, that is the right decision to make. So big oil has a do or die decade ahead because of climate change. That's the quote from The Economist. Facing the climate crisis, climate change, big oil companies facing the decade ahead. It is a do or die moment for these big oil companies. If you do not take action, you will die. I often said to our colleagues that we need to transform, otherwise we will die. So it's either transform or die. It carries the same implication as the quote here, do or die. Big oil, if you do not take action in the next decade, if you do not do something, you will die. So I started with the quote, the coverage of The Economist. That's how I intend to open my presentation today. Okay, as the big oil are facing the agreement of transition away from fossil fuels. In this charter, as you can see on the right, the decarbonization charter, the charter has 52 founding companies representing 40% of global oil production. I will not go into details due to the time constraint. If you are interested in this topic, please read the detail of these charter. But as you can see here, we need to conduct the transformation in a fair manner. We are clear about certain statistic. We need to triple the production of renewable energy. Energy efficiency, we need to double that from 2% to 4%. These are all great challenges. Tripling the renewable energy and double the efficiency, these are all difficult tasks to achieve. So at least for COP28, it has provided a guide for everybody that we need to achieve the goal bring about by these charter. And as the Deputy Minister mentioned, the challenges actually bring about a lot of business opportunities. Facing the crisis or challenges, how we can see opportunities from the crisis. So, for CBC, we have started to develop our future business models. There are a lot of business models that are in the process of implementation. If you are not here for the first time, I believe you have a general picture of these ideas or actions. CBC often said we have 3 arrows. That is optimizing the oil production, reduce the carbon emission, and develop clean energy. So these are the opportunities that can be generated from these 3 arrows. Optimizing the oil production, that is for the short term. We can optimize the manufacturing process. We enhance the quality of our oil products. We use specialized raw materials and chemicals to optimize and improve our products. These are the opportunities from optimizing the oil production. As Deputy Minister Gao mentioned, the key here is 5G AIoT. We often talk about green transformation, and the priority is to introduce smart technologies or IT technologies so as to create a circular economy. And these are the things that we are already doing in the near term. As for carbon reduction, we have leveraged carbon capture technologies. CBC is the only company in Taiwan that possess oil drilling platforms. So we need to leverage these technologies to capture the carbon and make better utilization. Actually, in our Dalian plant, we have completed a small pilot project to actually capture the CO2 and transform these and make better utilization of these CO2 and carbon. And within the company, we also have a cross-departmental program so as to validate the technology and techniques. So in the future, once we capture the carbon, we'll be able to utilize and store the carbon. And also in terms of carbon reduction, we are also able to produce to achieve carbon neutral for our natural gases. From our buyers, we use different ways to achieve or purchase carbon credit. We have achieved 9 cargoes of that. we have conducted that for the crude oil from Azerbaijan and other smaller projects, which include the petrochemical raw materials that we imported from Japan. We have achieved carbon neutralization. We also have the first carbon neutral gas stations in Taiwan. So in addition to carbon capture, we also are engaging in the efforts of carbon neutralization. And thirdly, clean energy is probably the key. And I believe CBC is the only natural gas importer in Taiwan. So while aiming at the 2050 net zero goal, before the clean energy or hydrogen energy technology become more prevalent and mature, natural gas will be the key energy source during the transition period. At least the carbon reduction is only 0.38. That is less than half of that of coal. And we also are engaging in solar energy, offshore wind turbines, and energy storage. And echoing Deputy Minister, geothermal and biomass are two important areas that we are focusing on. Digital transformation will make green transformation more feasible, and that is what we have been doing in our plans. In terms of operation, we will be able to achieve Industry 4.0 by, in addition to introducing AI technologies or cloud computing, we also focus on different areas. As shown in the chart, we use simulation, virtual reality, augmented reality, and additive manufacturing. Take these example. We have worked with ITRI to conduct the project with big data, and AI will be able to improve the production efficiency of the ethane production. Will be able to reduce the CO2 by 3 to 4 tons per hour. So every year we'll be able to reduce around 30,000 tons, which is equal to the carbon storage volume of 80 Da'an Forest Park. And last year we have introduced the robot dog to conduct the automatic inspection. It is a bionic automatic inspection device, a robot dog, to see whether the parameters or the meters are set at the right level. In the past, we focused on prevent and maintenance, but now we are able to conduct precautionary maintenance. We can forecast when the device will need to be replaced or maintained, so as to avoid the total breakdown. So with this kind of analysis, we have actually prevented many of these unnecessary shutdowns or breakdowns. These are all great savings for us, and these are all ongoing efforts. And as I mentioned, we'll be able to turn the black gold into green gold. in addition to develop a better quality motor oil, actually we have our products has been recognized with numerous awards every year. For other specific chemicals, we have great, for example, COTC products. We have actually had a pilot plant, which is built by a very experienced third-party contractor who has helped TSMC to build their fabs. So carbon fiber, we already see the business opportunities. 2 years ago, we have already transferred our technology to use it in the for the manufacturing of the optical lens for the space center. So we are conducting such partnership with the Space Center, and we have also developed a organic material R&D platform. And also semiconductor and enzymes. There are actually 4 different platforms for the R&D. And we're able to develop all these materials. The Advanced Catalyst Center, ACC, is focusing on the improvement of the key catalyst. We'll be able to collect big data to improve the formula of the catalyst. Originally, we had the technology transfer from E3. We hope that by applying different formulas of the catalyst, we'll be able to further improve the capability to capture CO2. So these are all ongoing projects. All these factories, LTO, which is about to be completed. Mechanical completion is completed. So these 2 are all ideal battery materials. And take LTO, for example. Because actually, we have already had potential buyers for our LTO material. So these are all our efforts in turning the black gold into green gold, from COTC to COTM, from crude oil to material, which can be collaborated with other industries such as semiconductor or optical electricity. We hope that we'll be able to provide these raw materials to further promote the growth of the high-tech industries in Taiwan. So we hope that through these commodity improvement, we'll be able to further driving the petrochemical industries. There are many companies within the supply chain that are producing such raw materials and providing them to the semiconductor supply chain. Okay, this is another area that we have been working on, biomass material and circular economy. These are the materials that we will use. We'll be able to recycle and reuse these materials that can replace the nausa, the use of nausa. Then we'll be able to reduce carbon emission. For nausa, we're also checking whether there are bio-produced nausa. So we also hope that we'll be able to start from recycling these waste materials. For the waste catalyst refining, for example, there are some heavy metals that we used in the past. In the past, we need to hire or contract vendors to help us deal with this waste. However, now we're able to refine precious materials from these waste. We have already had these technologies within our own plant in Tainan. And on the Earth Day last year, then Vice President Light actually visited the plant to see these energy storage system. And in addition to these energy storage system, we also have the LTO that I've just mentioned earlier. All these materials can be applied together as for vial. We also hope that these lactic acid can be used as the solutions for other industries. We hope that it can replace PET bottle. That is another effort that we are working on to further reduce carbon emission. And also anti-corrosion material or paint. And I've mentioned we have already had a carbon capture and storage CCS technology. During the past decades, we have very comprehensive data of geographical data. We'll be able to see different areas or layers and the capacity and the short or mid-term. We hope that we'll be able to establish a carbon circular economy with this CCS technology. Louis, we will start to conduct a project in Advil Mountain. And Binghai, we will conduct that a project in Taoyuan and also Taixi Basin. And there are foreign companies that are interested in making Taixi Basin carbon storage plant as a regional hub in Asia Pacific. And we also see a lot of business opportunities in this area, not just for Taiwan. We are expecting international investors to participate in this Taixi Basin project. And this, as I mentioned, it is a pilot project aiming for commercialization in the future. We start from the laboratory to pilot project, then to fully commercialization. And I've been discussing with some of our labs to see how we can change the formula of the catalyst. Some using different formulas are using different metals. We are trying to further improve the formula so that we'll be able to make better usage of these raw materials. And after that, for the next stage, we will expand the size of these pilot projects 400 times for commercialization. We also have some projects to collaborate with downstream providers, but due to confidentiality agreement, I may not be able to release more information at this moment. Okay, I'll skip this one as we mentioned about carbon neutral projects. E-fuel is truly important. We hope that we'll be able to have alcohol gasoline further development from E3 to E10. Carbon is a very important part of these efforts. Sorry, I have only 5 minutes left. From manufacturing, production, to utilization and transmission, the transportation, the technology is still at the preliminary stage. For production, stimulus former, that is the SMR, that is the technology that we're using right now. If we link that with CC, we'll be able to achieve our goals. And in the future, for other technologies, as we can see, what kind of vehicles that we are using for the transportation of the hydrogen energy. We are now working with Japanese partners. There are 3 mainstream technologies. One is the liquid hydrogen from Kawasaki, from Kobe of Japan to Australia, to turn these coal into liquid hydrogen. And we have already had a pilot project that's been completed. But the size, the capacity is really small, only 1,250 cubic meters. So it needs to be further expanded for 128 times to make it really commercialized. And there are other challenges in terms of the manufacturing techniques and the materials that can truly endure ultra-low temperature. Kawasaki actually is leading in this area. And in Japan, there's another group using ammonia as the vehicle for the hydrogen. But whether it can be used in commercial cases is still to be discussed. And there is a other way of doing that. They are using different technologies, and that's transforming the raw materials in the original production site and then transported to Japan. In need to apply green electricity or green hydrogen to truly reduce carbon emission. So these are the 3 systems that's been implemented here in Japan. So we will see which technology will be mature first and further lower the cost of production. Due to the time constraint, I will not go into details here. For hydrogen stations, hydrogen refueling stations, we have started the procurement process since last year. The project is a little bit delayed, and it is expected to see a mobile hydrogen refueling system be installed here in Q3 and have a pilot operation by the end of this year. It will be installed in Kaohsiung, southern part of Taiwan. So this is the thermal energy that we just mentioned earlier. Last year, we have worked with Thai Power to have these geothermal well. And this year, we will have a 4 mega plant in Renze. And next year, we will have a 5 mega power plant in operation next year. We hope to achieve 3 to 6 gigawatts of production by 2050. And we also see a lot of business opportunities in this area. A lot of the vendors within the industries are approaching CPC to help them drill the well for the green energy development. Gestel is a company invested by Bill Gates. So these information will also be provided to the audience for reference. We use a lot of our own materials. We'll be able to achieve the goal of material recycling and energy recycling. And due to the time constraint, let me conclude my presentation. And gas station is the symbol of CPC. So we hope that our gas station will be involved into a multifunctional or multi-service all-in-one center in the future. In addition to solar power generation, we also include energy storage system, intelligence EMS, and EV charging facilities. And now we're selling coffees in our gas station. We actually introduced coffee beans from imported coffee beans from Guatemala to provide really high quality coffees in our gas station. So we hope that in the future, we come to our gas station, you can charge your EV vehicles, and you'll be able to provide our hydrogen energy in the future. And our gas station will transform into an all-in-one energy providing center in the future. We hope that by this introduction of our projects, we hope that Chinese Petroleum Corporation will become a green power corporation, and ESG will always be our goal and mission to create a friendly environment, social prosperity, and governance efficiency toward a sustainable clean energy company. Thank you very much. Thank you.
由李胜清董事长的分。
Well, thank you, Chairman, for your presentation. He mentioned that CPC is using R&D to bring about business opportunities in low-carbon era. He talks about utilizing AI and the cloud to help facilitate the transition to the green energy and economy. Now we're going to invite President from CSC, Mr. Wang Xiqing, to talk about CSC strategy. Deputy Minister Gao, ladies and gentlemen, experts from the media, representatives from the media, good morning. I'm honored to be able to invite to participate in today's forum and also share with you CSC's strategy and planning in low carbon and sustainability. First of all, I'm not sure how to advance the slides. So in the face of the climate change, we know that net zero and low carbon emissions are already the trends. I'm learning how to advance my slides. I think last year in March, the UN Climate Change IPCC issued the sixth assessment report. With numbers, the report talks about the severity of climate change. We can see temperature increase has already reached 1.1 degrees Celsius. And by 2030, the increase may reach 1.5 degrees Celsius. So that means, well, actually, the deadline will be moved ahead of time by 70 years, as talked about in the Paris Agreement. And last year in Dubai for COP28, the meeting announced the number from global inventory. Last year, the temperature increase has already reached 1.4 degrees Celsius. According to the NDC, the country's carbon reduction commitments, we can see the temperature may rise to 2.9 degrees Celsius. I think 3 years ago, well, for the past 3 years, you can see a lot of disasters created by climate change. So we can see there are more and more disasters. And now we're at the point of the inflection. And also, Bill Gates issued a book called How to Avoid Climate Disasters. And he mentioned that net zero, low carbon emission is the only way to go. So this is the biggest challenge for humankind. So for industries, we're now facing lots of challenges and requirements, including from the government, from NGOs, from investors. Now there are international initiatives and also CBAM. EU imposes taxes for products exported into the EU based on carbon emissions. So we can really feel that, carbon reduction and energy saving are no longer, environmental issue, but also economic ones. So they have a lot to do with the survival of a company. In order to survive in the international supply chain, it's important to face up these challenges. We have to turn challenges into opportunities. So with this kind of understanding and awareness, I would like to tell you about how CSC is corresponding to the transition and the planning to low carbon business model. More than 10 years ago, it was a time when ESG was just started. and we started to implement a 5G strategy. What is a 5G strategy? That means we develop green process and we produce green products. We work with green partners so that we can implement the idea of circular economy in order to improve the efficiency of resources and human and talents. And then we develop 2 green businesses in solar panels as well as offshore wind power, and also we promote the idea of green living. With very limited time, I will only focus on the first 3 parts: process, product, and partner. You can see this is a manufacturing process of our company. So the material is iron. So we process the iron and put in blast furnace. And then in the furnace, the material will be reduced. And then that will create a material out of this furnace. And the impurities will be removed and alloy will be added to produce purified material. And then we will cool it, and then we can have semi-finished products. And then after, pressuring a series of processing, after a very long series of processing, we'll be able to produce the metal sheets, the sheets we need for our customers. So it actually takes more than 10 days from the very beginning of the process to the end product. And the production line is more than 3 kilometers long, and it requires high pressure and high temperature in the process. So that means there are a lot of opportunities for carbon emission reduction. So we have been doing everything we can to try to recover the furnace gases and the waste heat, and then use the idea of cogeneration to generate power. And then more than 50% of electricity used by us is generated inside the company. We produce more than 300 million kilowatt hours of electricity. And we also use 10 methods to reduce carbon emission. And then we are able to identify all the possible hotspots for carbon reduction. So from 2011 to 2020, we finished 1,182 projects, and we're able to reduce carbon emission of 1.45 million tons of CO2, so which account for 6.5% of carbon reduction in our company. So that shows that we can really accumulate small wins to reach big wins, so that we can really finally reach net zero. If we build this good foundation, then it will be easier for us to transition to net zero. And then Chairman Lee and also Deputy Minister Gao talked about the importance of digital transformation and in our 10 methods. The last one of them is the use of AI for smart management. At CSC, we have had 325 AI-related projects, and then created a value of 1.5 billion new Taiwan dollars. And next, I would like to talk about our green products. I just talked about green process, which is about reducing carbon emission from within. And for green product, that means I can reduce carbon emission for my clients. For green products, that means for high strength steel, for automobile, and also high-performing electric steel. By using this, we can reduce the total weight of a vehicle. And then if we use the steel to make a motor, and then this motor will be more efficient. So in the life cycle of these end products, they're able to reduce the emissions of carbon and reduce the use of energy. So that means we're helping our customers to reduce carbon emissions. And last year, we produced 2.255 million metric tons of green products. And then E3 used LCA to evaluate these 2.55 million tons of products, and we're able to help our customers reduce carbon emissions by 5.64 million tons every year. So I want to give you an example. Among our green products, the most successful one is our electrical steel. It is used to produce motor for EVs. So this is a very important component. So if you like to produce motors for EVs, we can see there are 3 requirements. The metal loss needs to be very low, and then the magnetic flux has to be high, and the thickness have to be very thin, so that by doing so, this can save energy use, and then the motor will have more horsepower, and the volume will be very small. We are very fortunate to work with a very important EV company starting with a T. So we started working with them more than 10 years ago. So we help with our client from Model S, Model 3, Model Y, all the motors, all the engines actually sourced our electrical steels. And with the growth of our clients, we continue to supply our components to them. So, and then we are a leading supplier in the world. In addition to this company, Volkswagen, Mazda, and then also other important car makers all use our electric steels. And then, well, there was a time that our market share accounted for 30%, but because of BYD, they used suppliers from China. So our market share dropped to 15%. But you have to know that our steel production only accounted for 0.6% in the world. However, we are able to take up such a big market share in electric steel for vehicles. And we're also helping car makers to use electric steels to produce good engines. Well, in the past, they had to use welding or use bolt for connecting. However, we provide this adhesive way to apply the steel to the motor, so we are able to improve our efficiency. And next, I would like to talk about green partners. So that means that we can work with different companies and industries to reduce carbon emissions. And Zhonggang is located at this Linhai processing zone. And then we had a very big system to integrate all our resources. And then with this system in place, we are able to supply our excess steam and industrial gases to the nearby chemical companies, factories around us. So we're able to supply these gases to them, and they don't need to produce their own steams and industrial gases. So that means we're working with different companies and different industry to reduce carbon emission. Last year, we sold 1.32 million tons of steams. And then we're able to reduce the CO2 emission of 31,000 tons. So for our 5G strategy, we are based on the foundation of carbon reduction. At that year, it was when COP26 was held in Glasgow, and we started to feel, the immense pressure of carbon reduction on companies. And we felt that what we did was not enough. We have to move toward carbon neutrality. With that pressure in place, 3 years ago, we set up a carbon neutral task force on the board level led by our chairman. Because I'm responsible for R&D, so I play a role in this task force. So I would like to let you know that in terms of carbon neutrality route planning, what is our progress so far? We have goals for the short term, and then we have 2 stages for the mid and the long term. And then we aim to reach carbon neutrality by 2050. So our base year is 2018, and we use 2 mature technologies to help us. We use renewable energy, and we also improve our energy utilization efficiency. We hope that we can reduce carbon emission by 1%. In the past, it's 0.65%. And then we were able to reach 682 projects for carbon reduction. And then we are able to reduce 1.27 million tons per year with a percentage of 1.93%. This is almost 3 times than what we did in the past on average. So we're able to actually come up with a lot of creativity to tackle all these hot spots. And then we are also formulating 8 innovative process-related strategies so that for the midterm and the long term, we're able to build up more capability for carbon reduction. So this is the metal making process. So you know that in these different phases of the process, we are developing these 8 innovative strategies for application here. So for blast furnace, BF, it accounts for 75% of carbon emissions in our process. And in the future, we will develop 3 technologies. In the past, we use iron ore. And in the future, we can use HBI. And also, we can see we use pulverized coal at the 2 year. We can also use hydrogen. And then we also use steel and chemical cogeneration. And by doing so, we are able to reduce carbon emission. I expect to reduce 32% of carbon from blast furnace. But this is still only low carbon, not carbon neutrality. So we have to use CCUS. So that means low carbon blast furnace can become carbon zero. And then we will use less of the carbon rich material to reduce carbon emission. So we're doing everything we can to use electricity to replace fuels. So we can use zero carbon fuels like hydrogen and ammonia. So these are the innovative strategies that we are already developing. I think it's really easier to plan, but it's really difficult to implement. So when it comes to implementation, we will be facing 3 challenges. Like I mentioned, we are still developing these 8 innovative technologies. So we're facing the challenges of first, technology, and then second, when it comes to implementation, I need to use green hydrogen, green electricity, and the CCUS. So I will be facing the challenges of not enough resources. And I also need a lot of capital. So I have these 3 challenges of technology, resources, and capital. So which one goes first? First, we need to build up a solid foundation for technologies. For CSC, we have to turn a high carbon emission blast furnace to low carbon emission. So it has to do with the use of hydrogen. So we had a hydrogen R&D center in the National Cheng Kung University. So we're not just working with this particular university. We're actually working with 12 academic and research institutions from Australia, from Japan, from Taiwan, altogether 27 scholars and experts to build up this research center. I would like to share with you our recent results and applications. First, on the use of HBI to replace iron ore in blast furnace. So actually, in the beginning, we use iron ore, that is oxidated iron in blast furnace for reduction. So that with this formula, CO2 will be generated. However, if we use HBI, it doesn't need to go through the reduction reaction. So we can reduce a lot of emissions of CO2. And with the research center from the hydrogen center, and then we're able to develop the core technologies for the use of HBI. And then we have engaged in 4 experiments, and we can rule out that we are able to reduce a lot of carbon. With the use of 1 ton of HBI, we can reduce the emission of 1.53 tons. And then in the future, we're going to use 1.35 million tons of HBI to reduce the emission of 2.3 million tons of CO2 so that we can reduce 12% of carbon emissions. How are we able to source HBI? We're working with our partners from Japan and Australia to set up HBI factories in Australia, Malaysia, and the Middle East, because these areas have great potential for production. So we can produce HBI over there and then ship back to Taiwan to be utilized by our company. Like I told you in the past, for blast furnace, we use pulverized coal powder, but now we can use hydrogen-rich gas instead. And last month, we started to do testing. And then we have tried to, we have did some experiments. And then we can actually increase the production from 11 to 24%. Dell and HP require us to meet a certain requirement of using 20% of renewable materials. Like the Deputy Minister mentioned, because we are a large company, we need to lead small companies. We need to work with partners to reduce carbon emissions. And lastly, I would like to tell you about how we drive carbon reduction in the industrial trend to create green business opportunities. So I have very limited time here, so I want to focus on steel and chemicals co-production. So what is steel and chemicals co-production? That means for the furnace gases that we produce, for CO and CO2, we capture these gases, we purify them, and we ship these gases to the petrochemical factories around us for them to produce their end products. So that means this is a collaboration between the steelmaking industry and the chemical industry so that we can turn CO2 into a very useful application. And we completed the construction of a pilot factory. And we have established, for example, the capture rate. The capture rate can be more than 86%, and the CO2 purification rate can reach 98.9%. And we are able to get the technology from UK companies. And for lands, I would like to thank a company for producing 3.6 hectares of land to produce this factory. And then we also produce our carbon neutrality products. We are leading smaller companies, and we help our customers to do carbon inventory from identifying hotspots of carbon emissions. We help them to reduce carbon emissions. Sorry, because my time is very limited, so I'll now jump to my conclusions. So in the past, we had a lot of efforts on carbon reduction and energy saving, but that's not enough. We focus on carbon neutrality for our future goal. And in the past, we used mature technologies. I call that an evolution. But if we want to reach the goal of net zero, we are still developing the technology. So this is a revolution for us. So your attitudes need to be very different when it comes to revolution against evolution. So during my panel discussion, I'll give you more details. So with that, I'm closing my presentation. Thank you.
总经理，请入座。王总经理有提。
Okay, thank you. As mentioned, 2030, by 2030, the global temperature may increase by 1.5 degrees of Celsius. And CSC actually using 5Gs to encounter these global challenges. And we actually truly learned a lot from the presentation by General Manager Wang. Next, we'd like to invite Chinese Holdings Chief Strategy Officer, Mr. Kevin Liao, to share with us the new opportunities identified by Chinese. It is my great honor to be here to share with you our strategy. Also like to thank US TV Vice President Deng for the invitation. It is my great honor to be here along with other distinguished panelists and speakers. Also like to thank you for your listening and attendance. Without further ado, we will go into the presentation today. Firstly, let me introduce the company. We were founded in 1977. We have more than 140 branch locations distributed in more than 10 countries with close to 10,000 employees. By the end of the year, we expect our total assets to exceed 1 trillion. Compared with the manufacturing company, we are a financial service company. Our sustainable development strategy is relatively more diversified. We start by ourselves focusing on low carbon operation. We focus on energy saving and carbon reduction, improve the corporate governance in terms of legal compliance, and also further enhance our governance capacity. We also participate in different programs and projects to help further improve the risk management in terms of climate change and information security. Secondly, how to make an impact. Firstly, we continue to provide services to SMEs and micro enterprises to provide sustainable finance and inclusive finance services. We are one of the first to provide financing to energy saving and green energy industries. And we also request our suppliers to meet certain international standard or requirements. And social inclusion is also one of our key focuses in terms of employee care and social welfare. Thirdly, enter energy transition business, including solar energy business, diversify green energy, and circular economy. These are the honors and recognitions that we have received, especially in the Dow Jones Sustainable Indexes. We have ranked them second in the global comprehensive financial categories of DJSI World Index. And next, I'd like to introduce our green energy business. We start by providing financing services for the industry. In the beginning, it is difficult for the industry to get financing from the banks. So more than a decade ago, we have started to provide financing facilities for the green energy industry. And we later realized that these industries require a lot of capital investment. So in addition to providing financing, we also conduct a lot of research on the relevant technologies, risk, and operation. And we have accumulated our knowledge in this area and formed a team we have actually recruited experienced talents from E3 to further expand the investment in these industries, which start from construction to operation and future capacity development of green energy. We have built our own power plant. We also acquire power plants. And in consideration of our E100 clauses for large electricity consumers demanding for green and electricity is rising. We work with the banks to guide funds into the green energy financing. We have introduced a variety of products with cumulative funds exceeding 130 billion. We also invited our partners in solar energy to join the efforts. We also exert our influence on financing customers. Through the scoring system of credit policy, ESG indicators are introduced to implement ESG customers and obtain more and better financing conditions. We also work with the media and the academia to come up with ESG courses for SMEs, small and medium enterprises, to learn and improve their operational practices. We've also further improved the supplier management. So from 2010, when we first entered the industry, we started from energy saving. ESCO refers to the energy saving industries. Then we start to create energies and involve in energy storage, energy selling, and we further expand our business to diversify green energy and promote circular economy, including the reuse or recycle of solar panels. In terms of energy saving, we have identified since 2010 that there's a trend that many companies need to make certain adjustments or transformations so that they'll be able to further enhance their energy efficiency. At that time, there were different technologies and products. It is difficult for the business operators to identify the best solution for them. So we work with the ESCO vendors and manufacturers to propose the three-party profit-sharing model between the financiers, the owners, and ESCO operators. The ESCO manufacturer can propose to the business owners, and Chinese will be able to provide the financing so that ESCO operators can conduct a pilot project. And we work with the business owners that the certain percentage of their energy saving amount will be shared with the ESCO operators and Chinese. So with this model, the business owners do not need to take the risk of whether the technique or solution is effective or not. And they'll be able, so they are more willing to adopt new design or solution to further enhance their power efficiency. We see a lot of hot spring hotels, and because hot spring hotels actually consumes a lot of energy because they need to heat the hot water and provide the AC cooling system for the guests. So we help them to further reduce their power consumption. And with this different model, we were able to help a lot of ESCO manufacturers to grow and have a lot of business owners or power extensive business to reduce their power consumption. And we have 3,792 power plants, which includes a lot of different solar panel projects on the top of factories, farmhouse. For the rooftop panels, we have 770 megawatts. Some other power consumption capacity from other forms of power generating facilities. And the estimated annual carbon reduction is approximately 868,000 metric tons, equivalent to the electricity consumption of 420,000 households for an entire year. As mentioned earlier, we use different multiple solar energy projects to develop our solar capacity. And here we see different power reserve projects with the promotion of the government policy. We have installed a lot of energy storage facilities and solar energy, solar power generating facilities. More than a year ago, we also participate in the EV value projects. Although our investment is not really significant, however, we're able to enter the end consumer market. We also actively engage in the selling of electricity, because in Taiwan we have a high demand for green energy, as our a previous speaker mentioned about RE100. The brand factory requirements, they need to meet a certain requirement of green power. And we also see the EBAM's implementation, the carbon border tax. And globally, companies are also required to get ESG certification for a better financing terms. And we have released 2.75 billion kilowatts of green electricity. And we have seen further deregulation on the supply of green power. Originally, only the third category power generator can sell these green power. But by the end of last year, the Energy Bureau actually expand the scope for those vendors in Category 1 can also start to sell their green power, green electricity. And diverse green energy. For Chinese, we focus on solar energy, but in Taiwan, there are other opportunities such as geothermal energy and small hydropower plants. And for the development potential of geothermal energy in Taiwan, it is expected to reach 33 gigawatts. However, it is not that easy to excavate or explore the geothermal energy. And the drilling of the wells need to be truly precise to really get the high efficiency in utilizing geothermal energy. As mentioned by our previous speakers, CPC has truly great techniques and experience in geothermal energy exploration. So it is lucky for us that we can leverage the skills and expertise of CPC. And once these geothermal energy the capacity is developed, we believe it will have great potential as a new source of power supply. In terms of recycling materials, we have dismantled solar panels for value reuse. We will also work with the industry and academia to discuss possible solutions. We hope that we'll be able to achieve more than 90% of the recycle rate. There are certain resources and time required for us to further improve the techniques to achieve the goal of 95% of recycle rate. So under the ESG strategies, these are the efforts that we have made. In the future. We will further deepen our green energy business and achieve carbon emission reduction, create new business niches, and pursue sustainable corporate development in the future. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin Liao, for talking about your strategy starting from 2011 in terms of how the company to reduce the user energy and to generate energy. So I'd like to thank Kevin for sharing the strategy of Chinese. Now I would like to invite Joe Chen from Deloitte, Taiwan. So he has a lot of experience to share with you from his interaction with his international clients. Vice President Deng, ladies and gentlemen, also participants online and on site. Good morning. I'm Joe Chen from Deloitte, Taiwan. So I'm honored to be able to share our insights with you. The UN Secretary General talked about how we should respond to the imminent threat of climate disasters. So we really need to be aware of the severity of the situation. But I think, people have a lot of wisdom. So altogether, we can come here and talk about how to deal with this challenge altogether. If we can deal with this situation, then we have a good chance to turn crisis into opportunities. So before I begin my presentation, I'd like to talk about when it comes to climate change and net zero. First, we need to take action. Second, we need to have ambition. So that means we need to take immediate action. How can we all work together to make it happen? And the second, because we have a great challenge out there, then we need to have a very ambitious goal in order to counter the current threat. If you look at the greenhouse gas emission, we can see the number continue to increase. From the 2023 report from UN, we can see that in 2022, the greenhouse gas emission reached 57.4 gigaton tons. And then this is an increase of 1.2% versus 2021. So for the past decades, CO2 generated by fossil fuels increased by 1 time. So in COP28, we talk about how it is necessary to reduce the use of fossil fuels. So this is based on very good reasoning. So we can see energy use, energy supply. This is a very important part responsible for greenhouse gas emissions. And also there are other emission sources from industries, agriculture, buildings, and transportation. If you look at the net zero trend in 2024, this year we can see that in COP28, we talk about how to phase out fossil fuels. And also COP28 talk about increased energy efficiency. So many developed countries propose ideas, for example, using nuclear power to use it as a transitional power, or the use of hydrogen as well as natural gases. So that is something that governments around the world need to take action on. And also the use of energy. Of course, it is important to maintain our daily operation. So it's important to focus on the security and the supply of energy. And third, on the use of renewable energy. This year in COP28, people talked about expanding the capacity of renewable energy. So this is something we also need to focus on in the future. Along with the development of technology, we know that AI and digital development can help propel sustainable transition. People have been talking about the AI technologies and their applications. We should be able to use AI for our R&D and also to increase energy efficiency as well as to engage in better management. I think that is another trend that we are observing. And the third thing is that all changes require capital investment. So we need to use the capital to help us to make transition possible. For example, President Wang from CSE talked about dealing with great challenges. So he talks about the challenges of technology and capital. And the UN sustainability goals talk about we should not leave anyone behind. We're all part of this world, so we need to take care of everyone's rights. So the topic of just transition is now becoming very important. And many investors pay attention to how we can make transition happen. So now we talk about transitional financing in the financial industry. So now government is formulating policy to facilitate this kind of financing. And every country is on a different developmental stage. So it's important to help developing countries to develop new energies for power generation. So when it comes to net zero transition, companies are facing lots of challenges. For example, there are a lot of uncertainties, including the maturity level of technologies, or we are not sure of the frameworks that we can use. And we still lack enough knowledge on the technology. So that means there's a lot of challenge out there, and that we have to be very active in understanding, what is the foundation and reasoning. For example, we know about carbon emissions, like mentioned by Deputy Minister Gao. Like carbon anxiety is something that people are concerned about. So we shouldn't just wait passively. It's important for us to take the initiative to understand how we can do better to manage carbon emissions. And carbon inventory is also very important for us to know, how we can better adjust to the new economy. And last year, Taiwan set up a carbon exchange. So this can help companies to deal with the challenges. So in this process, how can we use digital technology to help us to transform? I think that's also very important. And like I mentioned, we shouldn't leave anyone behind. We should, protect everyone's rights. So it requires collective efforts to discuss that on the path to net zero, how can we make sure that we leave no one behind and at the same time reaching the final goal of net zero? From the Deloitte global report, we can see that when it comes to just transition, more than half of companies think that this is very important, but less than 1/4 of companies are able to put that into practice. So that is an ongoing challenge for us. So in order to reach net zero, when we coached our clients to meet this goal, we have this understanding that it is important to engage in digital transformation. Just like what the two Chairman Wang and Chairman Lee and President Wang talk about, the key parts of reaching net zero. Digital technology and the use of digital platform are very important to improve our decision-making processes. And there are 3 things that is important for the companies to learn. First, this is on data management. If you want to make decisions, you need to have data. And where does data come from? So you need to know what kind of data you can use for you to make better decisions. Are we collecting the right data? And are we collecting quality data? And because we require high quality data to make effective decisions. And after data management, of course, after collecting data, we need to set up goals. So that means we need to have good KPIs and performance goals. So in addition to set up internal goals, we also need to communicate with the suppliers and to know that on the path to net zero, we need our suppliers to work together with us. And the third thing is transparency disclosure, because we need to disclose what we have done, disclose our progress with with third parties, with outsiders. So that is something we need to do on the path to net zero. So on the path to net zero, I talk about the importance of digital transformation. And I talk about the 3 key points, which are data management, performance evaluation, and transparency disclosure. That means by doing so, we can increase our energy efficiency with relevant technologies. We're able to make more efforts toward this goal. With the use of data and then the more understanding of our manufacturing process, we know there are a lot of hotspots for us to reduce carbon emissions. The government stressed the idea of circular economy. And then in the supply chain, we talk about the use of recycled materials. And it's important to collect data to know how we can optimize our manufacturing process so that we can improve the efficiency of material usage. We know COVID actually has brought a lot of impact on the way we work. So now people are used to using this hybrid mode of working. And also we know that people are very busy with dealing with everyday tasks. It's important to combine both online and offline to increase synergy with the use of technology. And like I mentioned, just transition is very important because net zero transition will have impact to a lot of people. So that means in this process, we have to strike a good balance on environmental sustainability as well as economic productivity. And it's also important for the public and private sectors to work together to build capacity. It requires the collective efforts to make things happen. For Deloitte, according to our experiences of helping out our customers, we utilize a variety of different ways to do so. And we think that there are 5 steps to net zero transition. First, inside the company, you should do your carbon and greenhouse gas inventory, and you need to set up your net zero goal. And last year, FSC talked about listed companies in Taiwan should be very active in setting up their goals after carbon inventory taking. So companies should understand the overall situation and set up a goal so that people will know what are the potential problems so that we can engage in analysis. And the second step is to develop net zero strategies. And from the previous speakers, we know that they have already set up their goal and they set up their strategy. And with the 2050 goal, they are able to design a path in order to reach the final goal. And step 3 is that you need to start to adjust your operation model, because every change will affect how your company operates. So that you need to fine-tune your operation model to help you to reach your goal. And step 4 is about increasing the capacity of your organization. And the company needs to roll out a lot of projects. So inside the organization, we need to build up capacities to facilitate and to implement different projects. And it's important to use tools to help us to implement these projects. And the step 5 is regular monitoring and reporting to let us know how the company is implementing the strategy. And then we need to set up milestones on the journey so that we can measure our current progress against the milestone to see where we are right now on the journey. By clarifying where we are, then we will be able to continue to move toward the end goal. So here I want to give you some examples. Like in Google, they use AI analysis to help them make decisions. So from their report, we can see that the use of AI can help a global greenhouse gas emissions by 5 to 10%. If you look at the bottom left corner, you can see, for example, on Google Maps give you suggestion to which routes can help you to save gas. Or Google has a flood prediction platform to warn you to leave a flood-prone area. Also, IPCC report indicates that the aviation industry accounts for a great percentage of carbon emission. So we can see the airplane's tail track will emit a lot of carbon. So with the use of technology, we can reduce the formation of this kind of tail trails. And also Microsoft and DHL, they use AI technology in their operation. So they know more about their carbon emission hotspots so that they can educate their employees to reduce carbon emissions. So these are all very useful cases for you to learn from. So now we're in 2024. And for the past few years, we have been talking about net zero. And many companies have embarked on their journey to net zero. And we really have to grasp this transitional opportunity so that we can help bring our organization to climb to the next peak. So as leaders, you need to be able to face up this challenge, because we know we have very daunting challenges ahead of us. So it's important for leaders to lead a company so that you need to engage in very highly effective communication, and you build up this strong, awareness level in the company. And secondly, from the previous speakers, we can know that in our ecosystem, it's important to build up trust and collaboration in the business ecosystem. And we need to use an open and transparent way for better engagement. And also we are developing lots of technology and which are very uncertain. And it's important to work with startups to create innovation and agility in the businesses so that we can speed up the process. So Deloitte, we will accompany our businesses in Taiwan. We will provide great support to the companies, and we have issued a lot of reports. And altogether, we can all work together to face up this daunting challenge. And we hope that we can help our next generation we can help them to prevent the possibility of severe climate disasters in the future. Thank you for your sharing.
And today's speech is really exciting. It tells you everything from the current status of the industry to the future net zero sustainable development trends. And so far, there are more than 130 countries echoing the goal of net zero 2050. And Taiwan, we're about to face the challenge and the trend of carbon reduction. US TV has been hosting this forum for 3 consecutive years. We are hoping that with this efforts, we'll be able to further promote the idea of carbon reduction. And Premier Chen Jianren actually mentioned yesterday in the summit that last year was actually the hottest year since 1850. And in Taiwan, we are already implementing relevant regulations and laws to further improve our potential to reach the goal of net zero 2050. And the government is also partnering with the industry in achieving these goals. And now we are about to have a panel. Let's again welcome our 4 speakers to the stage again, including Chairman Lee from CPC, General Manager Wang from CSC, Chief Strategic Officer Kevin Liao from Chinese, and Mr. Chen Yingzhou from Deloitte, Taiwan. Okay, thank you. Again, we'd like to welcome our 4 distinguished speakers to come up on the stage. Mr. Lee, Mr. Wang, Mr. Liao, and Mr. Chen. As we know that during the past 5 to 10 years, net zero and carbon reduction has been a popular topic in the world. And as we know, CPC has prepared many countermeasures on the issue of carbon reduction. And you also mentioned about battery, LTO, the material. There is a possibility to see commercialization of these materials by the end of this year. And also your emphasis on hydrogen energy. As you also mentioned, Japan and Australia are quite aggressive in developing hydrogen energy, and CPC is also working on that. And what are the biggest challenges that you are facing right now? Okay, for CPC, our priority is to promote a hydrogen energy society. As I often said to my colleagues, in order to achieve a net zero 2050, it will be impossible to achieve this goal without hydrogen energy. And for hydrogen energy, CPC actually still have a long way to go. There's a lot of challenges that we need to overcome. Firstly, the maturity of technology. If our take TRL, for example. As I often said, hydrogen technology is still at the infancy stage. It's still in the infancy, at most a toddler stage. We need to see certain breakthroughs in terms of the technology for us to see the potential of commercialization, because we need to see the reduction of cost to make the energy more affordable. If it's not affordable, commercialization will be impossible. So all the world has been working on hydrogen energy technology. In addition to technology, regulation, law and regulation also plays a very important role. It can be divided into several different aspects. Number one, the restriction on land that need to be deregulated, and many parties or government agencies will be involved, including the Ministry of Interior Affairs, the Ministry of Environmental Protection, and so on. So the restriction or the limitation on land procurement is an issue. And whether we need to have a law exclusively for hydrogen energy, that is something that needs to be discussed. The law that we are having right now is actually based on the governing policies that has been issued only last year for hydrogen station, refueling station. But for the long term, we believe that we still need to have a law exclusively for hydrogen energy promotion. For example, for gas station, whether they can include the hydrogen refueling facilities, or there are certain requirements for these gas stations for them to be converted into hydrogen refueling stations. Currently, the gas stations are not allowed to provide the refueling services for hydrogen energy. And for the government governing policies that I've just mentioned, in addition to land and government subsidy will be another issue. We'll need to see how the government's policy can guide the development of hydrogen production, hydrogen energy supply. We need to see both the healthy development of supply and demand of hydrogen energy before we can see the promising growth in this area. As for the subsidies, many countries around the world are doing that. Take Korea, for example. Korea is probably the first country to have a law for hydrogen energy exclusively. It provides a 50% of subsidy for the establishment of hydrogen refueling station. And it also provided a subsidy for hydrogen energy. So that is mandatory, and also tax exemption and incentives. And we have seen similar practices in Korea. They have invested in a lot of budgets, and that's the same case for the United States. In addition to RA, in order to establish 7 hydrogen hubs, it also provides a subsidy of $7 billion to establish the hydrogen hubs in different regions. And it also provides some tax exemptions accordingly. For example, for every kilo of hydrogen, it may provide a certain amount of subsidy based on the policies. And Japan, in order to promote hydrogen energy, these countries all regard hydrogen as a very important part of their energy strategy in the future. EU also established a 3 billion euros hydrogen bank. So everything that I've just mentioned need to be involved, plus technology. And another big challenge is communicating with the general public. It's not just for the introduction of hydrogen energy. All new policies, for example, CPC, for example, we are conducting a pilot program for carbon capture. We also need to communicate effectively with the general public. How do you reduce or convince the general public and ensure the safety? So in terms of developing hydrogen economy, safety is one of the first priorities. Actually, we have conducted a quantified risk assessment for hydrogen refueling stations before the establishment of these facilities. So, how to ensure the general public about the security and safety of the hydrogen energy is a priority. We've conducted rounds and rounds of SAT to ensure the public that hydrogen energy is safe. So in addition to lowering the cost with the breakthrough of technology, the support of the policy, government budget, tax exemption, and subsidies, and land acquisition to deregulate the land use restrictions, and general public communication. And of course, we need to work more on that. These are the biggest challenges that we need to overcome, not just for CPC or any specific companies. So as Mr. Lee, in your presentation, technology is one of the key issues, and public communication and government policies are also very important for the general public. With the establishment of new hydrogen refueling stations, so in the future we see that hydrogen power vehicles will be an important part of the transportation in the futures. And there are different ways for hydrogen to be utilized to further reduce carbon emission or energy consumption. So next question for Mr. Wang from CSC. You mentioned in your presentation that in the past is evolution in the past, but now we require to do revolution. Okay, let me echo what Chairman Lee just mentioned. In order to achieve net zero, there are tremendous challenges. No single company can face the challenges by itself. It actually takes the efforts of the whole industry, as well as the support of the government and the public to achieve that. In terms of government support and subsidization, it can be divided into 3 different levels. One is GI, green innovation. The other is GX, green transformation. And CCFD, Carbon Contract for Difference. What do they mean? GI means that in terms of innovation, government need to provide subsidies. Earlier, Deputy Minister Gao also mentioned that this year, government has set up a budget of more than 90 billion NT dollars. Japan, for the steel industry, it is providing 450 billion Japanese yens. For GS, take Germany for example, the government has agreed to provide subsidies for 4 steel companies, including Salzgitter, 5.6 billion of euros for them to improve their equipment. CCFD for ThyssenKrupp for the next 15 years. Because you're using hydrogen as the catalyst, as the agent, the cost will be further increase. So in the next 5 years, there will be a subsidy of 1.4 billion euros. So these are all very good examples for us to learn from. And as I mentioned, CSC 3 years ago, when we planned the roadmap for carbon neutralization, we have actually hired the top vendor, EPC, as our consultant. The consultant actually shared with us a concept. He said that carbon neutralization is a high-risk journey. So it suggested us that we need to adopt a diversified solution. As I've represented, CSC actually planned 8 different advanced manufacturing processes, and we also need to take our own resource limitations into consideration. For example, Taiwan, are we able to follow the same model as Europe? Probably not. So our routes will certainly be different from Europe. So we need to see more mature technologies, and we also need to produce or manufacture high-quality products. And that will determine the requirements for our manufacturing processes. Marching toward net zero will not only change the manufacturing process of steel, it will also change the strategy for the future. So CSC need to transfer some of the manufacturing processes that require a lot of carbon utilization to Malaysia, to Middle East, to see where there's hydrogen production. So as Chairman Lee said, hydrogen is the key resources to get in the future, because in my opinion, if we want to have cheap hydrogen, it will probably be very difficult to achieve in Taiwan, because there are issues in terms of transportation and other issues. However, in Taiwan, there are still resources for us to achieve carbon neutralization.
So we have a lot of contact with ExxonMobil. So Taiwan has a lot of potential for CCS. I think someone is raising his hand. Well, later we will open up the floor for question if we have extra time in the end. So what I'm saying is that we have a lot of potential for using resources. If we can have good regulations, having good communication with the general public, and then CCS can be a resource for us to utilize. So that will present a new business opportunity. So that means that will be a low-cost method for Taiwan's companies to reach net zero. CPC and CSC talk about the challenges they are facing. So simply put, the investment is going to be very high. So I want to ask Chinese. You talk about having new business model. If an ESCO company has very good solution for energy saving, if you can provide monetary subsidies to help companies to utilize the equipment, and then in the end, if you find that is very efficient, maybe that you can use that methodology.
So for the business model, we can reuse the resources that we are using right now, or how we can further expand the prevalence of the existing technologies. For example, during the past few years, on the rooftops, we have solar panels on more than 3,700 sites. The roofs are there already, so how to leverage these space? We need to communicate with the owners one by one. And also, in order to promote on-the-ground solar panel, solar farms, I think the challenges is the same as our two previous speakers mentioned, how we can communicate the policy well with the general public. For example, in the area of solar energy, there are different policies from the central government and the local government, and the impact to different areas will be different. So we hope that the government can be more specific in communicating the policies and regulations. Of course, the company, the industry can play a certain role, but it actually requires the government to deliver a more comprehensive communication strategy to the general public, so that to ensure them about the safety and also help them understand the long-term benefit of these policies and efforts, so as to minimize the impact and improve the trust to the government. And secondly, with the implementation of new technology, there will certainly a certain level of risk. We are also investing in numerous startups in the area. For example, a new technology innovator for CCS in the U.S. We are willing to take a certain level of risk to support the development of new technologies, new techniques. But of course, we need the government to provide a more comprehensive planning framework. That is a must in Taiwan, because under these global trend of net zero, we are being pushed by this trend right now. But maybe in the future, we'll become a leader, a pioneer in this area. So I think we have a lot of opportunities. For example, hydrogen energy. Vietnamese government originally want to leverage the coastal wind farms to develop hydrogen energy. And in Taiwan, we also have 6 to 7 of the top 10 wind farms in Taiwan. If the wind power is developed in a better way, then there's a higher potential for us to develop hydrogen energy. So when we are seeing these opportunities and trend, we can leverage the existing resources that we have, but we also need the government to be more active and aggressive in promoting these areas.
Thank you. So all of you mentioned that low carbon reduction and energy saving are highly risk endeavors. So you are taking up these risks, but with risks come with a high reward. So that means we'll be able to provide better incentives for investors. So we'd like to see real return, not just on paper, because we know that many CFOs, when they make financial reports, they need to know EPS and ESG. So do you think that is a very popular trend? Yes. Actually, carbon reduction, it is something that requires the efforts of the entire company, not just limited to the chairman or the president. So when we are interacting with the customers, we first need to make sure that the entire company can have a good understanding of carbon reduction. I know that that has already happened to many large companies. And from our past experiences, we believe that that is a must. First, we need to let the entire organization to form this consensus. So first, we need to engage in carbon inventory, but many departments don't know how to do that. So we first need to educate the entire organization to do carbon inventory. And then the organization will have discussions and set up goals. And these goals are related to different departments, not just to the CFO. So they need to come up with monetary resources, and they need to be able to explain to financial institutes as to why they are doing that. Because for the financial institution or the banks need to know how the companies utilize their loans. And the third part is about strategic implementation. So we can see there are a lot of SMEs in Taiwan, and they are able to focus on the basic things, the things that they can do for now. And of course, it requires technology development. It takes time to develop new technologies and to make them mature and commercialize them. Of course, it takes time. And from CPC and CSC, we heard about problems in regulations. Of course, the regulations need to be updated. And for example, the CBAM is a new change, and then for Chinese companies, if want to export products to the EU, it's important to meet the requirements of CBAM. And then in order to meet the requirements, the product cost will be increased. So when it comes to international trading, we need to make sure that we can avoid carbon leakage from happening. So it's important to identify the problems and work with the government and then communicate with the government. I think that is something that the organization needs to face. And there are many standards which are developing and evolving, because we are still learning about these standards. But some standards have already been harmonized, and then it's important for companies to know more about these major standards so that they can better respond to the change in future regulatory change and so on. Thank you. We know we have very limited time here, so I want to thank the 4 speakers, 4 panelists for your sharing. If you have any questions, you can talk to our experts in private. So I'm going to turn the microphone back to our MC. Well, thank you for your sharing. And for today, we have a lucky draw. I think you should know your lucky draw number, and then we will give away 3 types of prizes. First one, we have a 5 hotel vouchers.